Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Starfinder Nuts and Bolts panel. My name is Thurston Hillman. I am the Managing Creative Director for Starfinder, and today we are going to talk to you about the upcoming Starfinder Enhanced book. But before we deep dive this exciting new product, I want to bring on our other panelists, starting with John Compton.
Oh man, hi, I'm John Compton. I'm a senior developer, worked on Starfinder for a while. Now I'm working on Pathfinder Adventure Paths, which means I get to show off some of the few last projects I worked on in Starfinder and make ludicrous promises the rest of the team has to fulfill.
That sounds about right. Next up, Dustin.
Hi, my name's Dustin Knight. I am the one who has to try to fulfill all those ludicrous promises, for I am the developer at Starfinder with a focus on rules content such as this very book.
Jessica.
Hi, my name is Jessica Catalan. I am the organized play line developer for the Starfinder Society and a frequent freelance author for Starfinder, which is why I'm here today.
And last but not least, returning from the previous panel is Nostralamus here, who may give us secrets about Starfinder Enhanced as we carry on. So let's talk about Starfinder Enhanced, everybody. So Starfinder Enhanced is our book that's going to be coming out around the end of this year. It's a 192-page hardback rule book for Starfinder that is meant to enhance your game and add new content to your game. So I want to talk about what that means for a moment. First of all, this is a player options book. This book is stacked full of player options. If people didn't like adding numbers to the end of this could have just been character operations manual too. But we filled it full of even other more stuff that kind of made it its own product. But really, it has just so many player options. I'm going to say that a lot this panel. We also stuck some GM options in there, some new optional rules, and really taking a look at some of our classes as well. We're going to talk about the enhanced classes that appear in this book. But we're going to kind of go through stuff in order, really deep dive it. We've got the cover for this product up. We're just going to see if we can get that pulled up here. Look at that amazing art, everybody. Just the swarms of cybernetic zombies fighting our new enhanced Solarian and our enhanced Witch Warper. Now, John, you were kind of, I think you were involved a little bit with when this art was coming through, just before you headed out or headed off to Pathfinder land, not left us. But yeah, that was a pretty cool art piece there.
Yeah, that was a fun one that the team kind of worked on, and then we got a couple of fun sketches back, and we were just like, more intense, more action, more zombies, and so the back and forth we had with the art and the final turnout was really cool.
Yeah. I think the artist for that was Ignacio Bazan Lazcano, who did just a stunning job. Now, how about y'all? We dive into some of the content of this book. I think that's why people are here. I think people want to know the secrets. We want to hear exactly what sorts of things, and we're going to go through this book. This is going to be probably like the most in depth you're going to hear about this book before you have it in your hands. So buckle up, get ready, and we're going to start with one thing that a lot of our books have, which are themes. Starting off this product, we have a whole bunch of new themes in this book for your characters to use as sort of the background to their characters. There's a couple in here that are pickups from some of our adventure path back matter, so you'll recognize things like the battle medic, the diplomat, the paranormal investigator. All of those are getting recompiled here, but also some new options here. We're gonna see the rancher, the vid gamer. And one of my personal favorites that I think we have art here for is the personal trainer. Let's look at this personal trainer. Isn't it great?
Oh no!
Isn't that just amazing? Like just that art piece. It's like, well, yeah. And they have such great abilities as morning calisthenics or therapeutic sports massage that you too can have with your character, and share with the party. In fact, really share with the party, because morning calisthenics lets you spend a resolve at the start of your day to get some temporary hit points, and then have your group join in the calisthenics with you to also spend resolve for temporary hit points. I'm really excited. There's some really fun stuff in here. I know there's a couple others. I'm not sure if any of y'all had ones that jumped out at you that you'd want to know more about, or were just excited while looking at them. But there are some pretty fun ones here.
I'm just initially curious about the personal trainer. Does it have an ability where it's like, I hate you so much, which is an ability for your party members to tell you to please stop waking them up early to lift weights?
Well, no, but its 18th level ability is called deadlift, so I assume that just is, a great pun.
I also really like the street magician. They have an ability called
Yes.
Now You See Me, and another one called
Mhm.
Now You Don't, and I just appreciate that.
The very
Oh.
good play on words we have in some of these. Yes.
I love the vid gamer getting augmented reality, letting them use their comm unit as a combat controller to shoot vehicle gun mounts and other gun emplacements like they're playing a video game. I think that's super fun.
Yes. Well, so after themes, we come into I think one of the things that people really like dive into when they get into Starfinder, and probably one of the most popular things we have in our game, species. We have a lot of species in this book. So again, we're giving away all the secrets. So once again, we have some pickups in here. You'll see some fan favorites from AP Back Matters, Elibrians, Indifians, Moishu. I know what Moishu are because I've had a player play one in one of my home campaigns. I know Elibrians, I know Indifians, but yeah, they were all in AP Back Matter, so a lot of people haven't heard of them before. So we're pulling them into this book as well. We're also taking some of the alien species deck we did a while back, and converting some of those from the cards that existed into sort of a hardback presentation. That's going to include a lot of fan favorites. So for people who've been asking, we've got Knowles, we got Gripply, we got Kyle Fetchlings, for those of you who knew them like that, Kitsune, Samsaran, all of those are going to be covered in this book, and it's pretty exciting to see them just get full page write-ups here. Then there's new ones. Then there are new ones, and we've got we've previewed in our blog Novians, which are cute little embodiments of dying suns that are teeny tiny and float around and are adorable. We have the Elenia. We have playable holograms. That's right, you can play a hologram. And then we have our next piece of art, the Scurridades, which, if you're a fan of creatures of the more furb variety, this might be a species you want to play. The Scurridades are one of the yes, it is playable. I need to stress this immediately. You can play this species, and they have a sonic cone breath weapon that they can unleash on their foes, and also have an ability just called Gregarious. And they can fly with clumsy maneuverability. That's right. That's right. That's right.
How do these tool? How do these gun?
Do you really need to know the specifics of how they gun? They gun with the power of magic and love.
Oh, okay, very good. So it's shoulder.
Very good, right? Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. I know that there's a lot of different species in here. I believe, like, Jessica, you worked on the Novians, which we previewed a bit earlier in our blog, right?
Yeah. I wrote the Novians. Novians was one of the two that I got to pitch and concept completely and write. That was Novians and holograms, which was super fun.
Yeah, holograms. Dustin, you were particularly excited about holograms, weren't you?
Oh, I was. Yes, you get to play as an AI powered core that projects a hard light body around yourself, and you could change your appearance a little bit, but just the idea of playing the hologram that's come to life as your character is so. There's so many different angles you could take that at. I absolutely love it, and their whole described as having this thirst for life and wanting to learn, and they're going to make some. I want to hear about your hologram characters.
but not as much as your Kitsune characters, because I see your Twitter tag is at Warlock Kitsune, and they're in here, right? So you get to have those from this book as well.
Man, when I read the write up for this, I love the write up for the Kitsune is absolutely fantastic. And hey, I got to make change shape kind of function like the change shape universal monster rule, so I was really happy I was able to do that. It was just one of my little things as a player I always wanted to adjust.
Sweet. And then we have one more. We have the LNI, but we're gonna keep that one. We can't literally give the whole book away. You're gonna have to wait for that one. But the LNI are a very cool species that you'll also to experience with this. And that kind of brings us to an end of species. We're gonna hop a bit ahead now to archetypes. This book, along with a oh good lord amount of class features, also has an oh good lord amount of archetypes in it. This was originally, when we were pitching Starfinder Enhanced, archetypes was a very core component of this book. We wanted to make sure just to bulk up those numbers for archetypes, because we just haven't had as many. And maybe there's even some rules in here for a free archetype that I've heard people have really enjoyed in a Pathfinder second edition. So maybe getting a little free archetype option in Starfinder for all of these new archetypes that are going to be in this book are pretty rad. I know for some of the ones we have in here, we have the Armored Visionary, which some of you might have some ties between that and the old Signifier for the Hell Knights. We've got an auto site, which one of their abilities is just you have your own personal soundtrack. So get ready. An Exalted Champion, which is a kind of a furtherance of the Divine Champion. It kind of takes that archetype, which showed up in Pact World, and as we like to say, takes it further beyond with a whole variety of new specific deity options for that. We also have the Major League Coach. Yeah, that's right. Your character can take the Major League Coach archetype with such abilities as Huddle, Trick Play, and Playbook. I don't even know what all of those abilities do off the top of my head, but I would play it just for having abilities called that. And then finally, for some of the ones we're going to preview today, the Menagerie Manager, which we have art for too, I believe. Look at it! Look at it! Just look at that! That alien is so happy to be there. Don't you think, everybody?
I was told when I acquired this pet that it would get no heavier than 10 pounds.
It has such archetype abilities as Flock Tender, Just a Little Push, Social Graces, Rescue Pet, and Care Package. I love the names of all of these abilities. Like, you can get combat trained, like, companions. You can get bonus feats for some of your little guys. It's really exciting. And just like building off of some of those like creature companion rules we first introduced in Alien Archive 3 is very exciting. How about the rest of you? Any of those particular archetypes jumping out at you, or things you're just excited to see appearing in the game, or that I've prattled off here and are like, tell me more?
I love the Light Splayer. It's a hologram and laser focused archetype that gets a 6th level ability called Glitter Bomb.
Oh my gosh, it does. I'm just reading that. So cool.
I think one of the most important and possibly overdue archetypes for this entire book and the brand is the Counselor. Starfinder, as you can see from our art alone, introduces some traumatic things that are going to haunt your players forever. So why not gain the abilities to help them work through all of their stress and terror that will haunt them forever?
Also, it has a class ability just called Additional Spoons, which I think we could all want that in our lives, right?
Yeah.
That, by the way, on a 10-minute rest allows you, when you regain stamina, you can bolster an ally, giving them a resolve point. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You could listen to them and let them keep their resolve while everyone else rests. You just take it in. How about you, Jessica? Anything else jumping out at you on the archetype side of things?
Yeah, you named it already. Menagerie Manager is my favorite. Now that this will be out, my daughter will officially never take any other archetype ever. Everyone will be a Menagerie Manager.
Especially
So
based
many
on that art.
bunnies.
Especially just based
So
on that
many.
art with that cute little critter. Oh my gosh. So many. All right. How about we hop into another segment here? Let's talk about feats. One of the things when we were pitching this, and John and I were the two around when this book was pitched. One of the things that really kind of went around at that point was us talking about what this book needed. And I remember sitting there being like, we need more feats, please, more feats, just a lot more feats. If we could just have a book that's just a lot more feats. This book accomplishes that. I've said it before, I'll say it again. This book has over 90 feats in it. That's right, 90. There are over 90 new feats in this book. So we aren't able to go through all of them. But
why, Thirsty?
Oh, you sure? Okay. Well, I suppose we'll start
No.
aerial evasion, Akaton battery hack, anti-grenadier, improved anti-grenadier,
I just
arcane
was reading
riposte.
through the list, and I misread the trusted companion one as trusted Compton, and I was like, oh, that shouldn't have gotten through development. That's clearly fiction.
So we're gonna maybe hit on some of our favorites, things that we liked from that list. I'm gonna start off with the one I just ended on there, arcane riposte, which essentially boils down to if you fail to cast a spell because you take an attack of opportunity. So maybe you've got a Vesk with a Doshko in your face and you decide to cast a spell and they thwack you with that Doshko, you'd lose your spell. But with this feat, you deal 7 points of damage per spell level to your attacker. Now, this enables some really cool character builds. Like, you could just be a spellcaster who takes nothing but out of combat utility spells and then runs up to enemy melee combatants, starts waving your hands, casting a cozy cabin, and then you get thwacked in the face and damage them. Honestly, it's just such a neat feat in my mind, just because it helps you out sort of in those close combat situations and lets you do something even if you do lose a spell. What about the rest of you? Any feats you've had that have sort of jumped out at you as like, oh wow, I really want XYZ?
Project Manager.
Oh,
I mean, that's another one just from the name alone where you're like, what? And Project Manager is one which allows you to better coordinate your group, particularly when they're using Aid Another to help you, so that you can gain stacking bonuses from Aid Another when they're following your lead based on your charisma modifier.
nice.
Nice.
Don't take charisma as a dump stat ever. It's the most important stat, y'all. You just don't realize it yet. Dustin, you have one?
I love Gag Gift, being able to dirty trick to put a grenade on somebody that will explode.
I would hope so. I mean, the exploding part. It would be very sad if you just gave them a grenade and it didn't explode.
Free grenade.
I mean, that would be
Jessica, how about you?
own.
Yeah, true.
I really like Avenger. When an ally is brought below 0 hit points, you can spend some resolve to just attack them because you're just really ticked off about it. Get some sweet vengeance.
Wait.
Do you attack your ally?
Not your fallen friend. You attack who
I
knocks
told you
them
for the
out.
last time. They're flying unconscious.
Yeah. Oh, I was about to say that would be a very, very specific feat. That would, fit at a bunch of tables.
Look, Jessica, if you don't hit them while they're down, they'll never learn.
Here's what I think the spellcasters will like. Bear Down, which is when an enemy succeeds a save against your spell, you can spend resolve points in another spell slot of equal or higher to force them to reroll at a -2 penalty, which just is really good for those like moments where they get a clutch save off, or maybe you really want to force an effect on them. Like that, I think casters are really going to like that. I also think there's some fun ones in there with other other types of play. We've also got Starship Combat covered in here too. So firing solution is like, oh, use physical science instead of piloting for attack rolls when you're firing your weapons, or something outside of Starship Combat, something like comedic timing. Once per day, make a joke to let an ally re-roll a failed bluff, diplomacy, intimidate check, and That's pretty useful in a lot of cases. So hopping in with a little crack to let your ally reroll when they roll that nat one. There you go. There you go. Also, Starship Aficionado, where once per Starship Combat, you can encourage someone without making a check. So just like a guaranteed, like, hey, I really need you to hit this. Please hit this. Some really, really fun feats in here. Any other ones people want to talk about while we're in the feat land?
Spellcasters are going to see some amazing cool feats in here. A Mystic Opportunist gives the enemy a penalty to their saving throw against your spells if they're under the effects of Harrying Fire, which is nice. Fantastic. Spell Gem Eater lets you consume your spell gems to get some bonus spell slots. There's also Ley Leech, which lets you get bonus spell slots when you successfully counterspell someone. So all very, very cool utilities here for spellcasters who just want to focus on their spellcasting.
Sweet. Okay. So, Jessica, John, any other ones you want to hit on, or should we leave them the other, I don't know, like 80, 90, 70 plus feats that we haven't spoiled for the book? There's a lot of feats, y'all.
Yeah, I'm good. I appreciate that there's some Starship adjacent feats in here too, but yeah.
Yes, absolutely. This is going to be great for everyone. Just like I every time I look, I see something in there where I'm like, huh, that's actually going to be super useful, or like could enable an interesting build. But I think maybe we step a bit forward, well, back in the book, because feats come after classes. But we're gonna go into class options now. Starting off with, I think, one of the core concepts of this book, which is the enhanced classes. So there are 4 enhanced classes in this book. It's going to include the Envoy, the Solarian, the Technomancer, and the Witchwarper. And you're probably wondering, what's an enhanced class? What's all this about? So one of the goals with this book was to look at some of the classes that exist in Starfinder, and look at how they played at the table. A lot of us have tons of table experience. We've seen how these classes have gone through, and there's always sort of that moment of like, this is cool, but maybe we could make it a little bit more, add a little something, a little spice to it. Not necessarily let's just make it entirely better, or let's completely redo the class, but instead let's look at what the class is doing right now and maybe things that could make it more enjoyable for folks at the table. And so we picked 4 of the classes where we really thought there were opportunities for us to make those changes. John, I know you did some of these yourself, I believe. I think you were responsible for, was it 2 of these, or
3 of them, I think.
3 of them. Yes, that was 3 of them. Yes, with obviously like the whole team sort of discussing and being like, "Hey, I remember you came to me. It's like, Thirsty, you have thoughts on Witchwarper," and I'm like, "Allow me to give you a novel, and we will discuss these." But then we started going through and seeing like where we could make changes. So, John, what was that process like for you before we dive into exactly what these changes were?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of different things that go into this, and it's kind of, we can examine from a positive and a negative perspective, because there are certain things where we were like, okay, here's your positive experiences or positive thoughts that we have about a particular class, and we want to make sure that it can do more of that. And the negative side is sort of what Thirsty was getting at just a moment ago, of like, oh yeah, we all have a lot of table experience, and sometimes we see some places where these classes either underperform or fail to live up to the concept that the class really embodies, or gets overshadowed, or somehow creates an unfun play experience. So one that I'll quickly channel from, this is more of Thirsty's experience, but it became kind of one of the iconic narratives, is one of the players in one of his games played an Envoy, and would basically have to spend every turn using Get 'em. Otherwise, they would feel that they were underperforming in some way. And so, like, one of the things that we were looking at for the Envoy is how to make it so that not only when you're choosing Envoy abilities that you feel that you have more freedom to go beyond kind of the core Envoy improvisations of Get 'em and restoring stamina and things like that, but also how your round by round action economy can change up and be more versatile, making it so that you don't feel that you might feel pressured into a constant support role, but you can be doing some of your Envoy support activities while still doing your own dang thing. So these positive and negative elements were a lot of what really steered our design for these enhanced classes.
Oh, wait. Nostralamus is whispering some. Oh, okay. Nostralamus is telling me we can share some of what's going on with some of these enhanced classes. Starting and some artwork. Oh my gosh, we have artwork for some of these enhanced classes. You know what? Let's dive in. Let's start with the enhanced envoy here. Our updated Navasi, who has gone super god mode Dragon Ball with stunning hair and stunning shoulder pads. Yeah, so the enhanced envoy is one that's really exciting. John was just touching on a lot of the sort of play experience, feedback and things that I'd noticed in my tables and others had, often reported to me. So I've already talked about this in some other interviews, but one of the cool abilities that I immediately read for the enhanced envoy that was really exciting was, inspiring combo, which is basically do a full action to make an attack and use one of your improvisations. There's a bit of a recharge on that. You don't do it every round, but oh boy, do you get to, make that do that thing that your class does, but also have that moment of like Han Solo fires the laser pistol too, because that's pretty important. Then we get some other abilities we haven't talked about before, but like signature support. So you can pick from a list like Clever Feint or Get 'em or Inspiring Boost, to name a few. And if you spend resolve points, then you basically you don't have to spend resolve points. You can do this up to a number of times per like envoy level you have, which is pretty exciting. So like you can kind of have those signature support things where you're not draining your resolve points, which is good because you're going to want those resolve points for some stuff later on in this book, because
In fact,
we like giving you options.
I realize you remind me of of a third concept that came up in these enhanced classes and Starfinder Enhanced as a whole. Again, channeling a little bit of Thirsty's talking points, but looking back at our various classes, character builds, and the like, and asking what are resolve points doing here? Like, are they just to not die, or are we using them proactively for something fun? And some of our classes do that a lot better than others. Like Biohacker has very few uses of resolve points, but if you look at Envoy, they have a whole bunch of them. So how do resolve points function, and why would I want to use them as opposed to saving them was a big thing as well.
Yeah, and so like some other examples of really engaging options here is like at 11th level, you get an ability called Lead by Example, which is when you crit a foe, you can just use an improvisation as a reaction before the end of the turn. So now like you're doing something, you're getting this cool way of continuing to use your abilities. And then a 14th level ability that is when allies like score crits, you now crit on a 19 or a 20 for the remainder of the combat. If another ally crits, increase it to 18 plus. So this is like this really fun, engaging way of like helping your allies, and having your allies do cool things will now improve what's going on. And I think that the new envoy is really gonna, or not new envoy, but I'll say enhanced envoy. I'm seeing in the chat too, a lot of people are, wondering, how difficult, how intuitive is it going to be to bring these classes in? Honestly, just like these will pretty much overlay on most of the classes fairly intuitively. So yeah. Which let's jump to our second class here, our second enhanced class, one we haven't talked about before at all, the Solarian, the enhanced Solarian. So Solarian is one of those classes that certainly had a lot of ability score juggling that was going on, and when this class was coming about, there was a lot of changes to give abilities that factor in your charisma, to allow you, if you put more stuff into charisma, it's going to give you some benefits beyond just like initial level benefits for having charisma. So starting off is like the attunement surge. So now when you have 2 attunement in graviton or photon. You can spend 2 without an action to gain some different effects, like getting an insight to your reflex saves, or the first time you damage a creature with your insight, you increase the damage you're doing. So there's some other options as well in there. Then one that I really like that I think is just super exciting. Oh, John.
Go ahead and cover that ability, then I'll talk about a design principle.
Yeah. I want to talk about just really quickly combat meditation, which is a 3rd level thing that lets you just, as a full round action, make a charisma check to just gain attunement. And the great thing about that is you can have that round where you're kind of going and then you're able to supernova on the next turn, which I think is very thematic and will honestly help out a lot of people with how they might play the game. John.
So whereas Envoy and Witchwarper were ones that Thirsty brought his own little piles of paper and plopped them on our virtual desks, Solarian was one that I came to the team with a lot of feedback on because I enjoy playing Solarians. And Thirsty mentioned the idea of like, okay, how do we make charisma more relevant? Well, one of the other things that I had an observation of was that the attunement tracking and process felt very binary. Especially with how quickly some Starfinder combats can go. I've had a lot of experiences both playing and playing alongside Solarians where, you get to that 3rd attunement point and, combat's over. Or there's just that one little straggler, so why is it even worth supernovaing? Things like that. And so I wanted to make sure that not only were there ways to, if you wanted to, kind of try to accelerate your attunement track by spending some of your actions, which she just covered, but also how can I make use of my attunement points, even if I don't have all 3.
Yeah. The last ability I think factors somewhat into that and gives you kind of more bang for your buck when using certain abilities is this ability called Aftershock at 8th level, which is when you use one of your Zenith revelations, you gain a benefit for 1 round or D6 rounds if you spend a resolve when this happens. And so, like for Graviton, for example, you then calculate your AC using charisma instead of dex. So if you've got a higher charisma than your dex, your AC will go up for those rounds. So it gives you this like desire to sort of like get up there, pop your Zenith, and then okay, now I'm getting this bonus to my AC, which if I spend a resolve, it's stacking for a couple rounds. Photon is you calculate your attack and damage mods with charisma instead of strength or dex. Does not stack with Soulfire. I know I'm going to get people asking about that, so I'm just putting it out there. But yeah, alternatively, your next successful attack gains damage equal to your charisma mod. So there's like this really interesting play of doing these Zenith revelations and then maybe spending some resolve. It's taking all these different abilities that exist in the game and actually letting you play with your toys. Which, yeah, very, very exciting. Very, very exciting. I think the Solarian's one that is going to see a lot of updated play and a lot of different build types. All right. Third enhanced class. We got 30 minutes left, and there's still a lot of book to cover. Everybody, we're trying to get through all the spoilers we can. Yeah, exactly. All right, here is the enhanced Technomancer. This is Raya the Technomancer. Technomancers are one of those classes that certainly, as a spellcaster, I think, give you spellcasting at a baseline, which is good and awesome, but we want to make sure that some of our classes are defined more than just hey, I cast spells, especially as we've kind of gone through the edition more and more. We've seen some innovative things with witch warpers and precogs. Well, we wanted to go back to the Technomancer and look at that as well. And two of the sort of big abilities, I would say, for the Technomancer, the enhanced Technomancer is like the Technomantic talent. So every 3 levels, you get to pick a school of magic, because our game still has those. And you gain an effect that you can invest multiple times into, the same one or into different ones. So, for example, like the one that made me just my eyes go wide and be like, well, lol, what? If you take this Technomantic talent for evocation, the first dice is maximum damage on a damage roll from an evocation spell. You can stack that up to 4 times. So if you take every 3 levels, you take that, first 4 dice are just max damage, which is pretty spicy. Necromancy is another good one. Anytime you like roll a d20, like an attack or a save, you can re-roll the d20 as a reaction. Like, so good, so good. And again, you can take these a couple of times to stack them, which I think is really, really exciting. And then we also have the other ability, Deconstructivist, which is that your spell DCs are 2 higher for constructs with a technological trait, 1 higher for non-constructs with technological, and does stack with like spell focus, but not other sources. So this is really good for the technomancer who's supposed to interface with technology and be able to use spells to mess up technology. When they go into an organized play scenario for the 800th appearance of the security patrol class robot, they will have higher abilities and chances to hurt it. It's true though. Those patrol robots show up in everything, and so we want to give you more chances to smash them better. Any other thoughts or commentary on the Technomancer?
I think my main point is going to really apply more to Witch Warper, which is about resource tracking and resource access.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then let's hop over to let's do the Witch Warper. This is my personal cross that I've borne for a while, because I also had a player who was involved with the original playtest of the Witch Warper, and maybe we changed some things in the playtest as a result. And I think some of the play experience for the Witch Warper, did suffer a bit, especially at early levels. That was something I came to the team with a lot of feedback on. I think one of the problems with early on Witch Warpers was you kind of felt like your spell slots really determined just how awesome you could be in a day. And so John, I know, took that feedback and kind of ran with it, John, didn't you?
Yeah, because to kind of draw out that point a little bit, like Technomancer and Witch Warper, like, both had just a limited number of times they could be iconically awesome per day. Like, your Technomancer can shoot a gun as many times as they want, but they still are only casting like 3 spells. So, particularly with Witch Warper, though, this was really pointed because your spell slots were not only your spells, but had to be used to fuel your infinite worlds. And so it became a class that was defined more by ways to use a very limited resource, as opposed to ways to enjoy both of those ways of using your resources independently and not feel that you're having to make it a devil's bargain every time. So one of the things that the Enhanced Witch Warper does is they get a small pool of uses of their Infinite Worlds ability per day that's not tied strictly to their spell slots, so that they can use that Infinite Worlds and not feel that they're losing out on all the other cool things they can cast. We also looked at the various Infinite Worlds effects, both the environmental ones and the instantaneous ones, and did kind of a look at, like, okay, which of these are accomplishing something that feels about on par with their level, which of these might need a little bit of tweaking. The main one that we really identified clearly was, I think it was the environmental for 2nd level, which originally did like a point of damage per spell level, which doesn't feel like a lot of oomph for using one of your spell slots. So that's been a little bit retuned. But the other great thing for the Witch Warper has been exploring more of its idea of alternate outcomes, alternate possibilities, and even parallel activity. So there's something a little bit later on called, let's see, I think it's Overload Reality, where you're kind of pushing beyond what you should be able to do in one turn, possibly even by channeling one of your alternate realities to help you do an activity, so that you can do a spell and an Infinite Worlds simultaneously, a limited number of times per day.
Yes, that one was really cool to me, because I love the idea of just being able to do things like I cast a spell and I use this other ability, rather than like having this choice, but you still have a choice later on. Also, I know a lot of people have often brought up Witch Warper and skills, and that Witch Warpers don't have as much in the skill department that some of the other classes have, sort of bespoke skill things. So one of them is the otherworldly skill, which is they get to just choose an additional skill and add it as a class skill, which is pretty good off the bat, but then we play off of that later on at, I believe it's 5th level, and then every 5 levels after. With Parallel Minds, you can reduce your number of ranks in a skill and invest them in other skills, but also replace your skill chosen for otherworldly skills. So like this neat option of just oh, hey, here's the skill that I've taken, and at first level I did survival because we really needed that at the beginning of the game, but then we realized, oh, actually I don't need survival at all. It's kind of pointless in this campaign now. I'm gonna take stealth, or I'm gonna take something else. It's this really neat way of allowing them to swap around skills just in the baseline of the class without retraining or anything. Oh, and finally, because we like giving all the spoilers here, one of their 11th level abilities, Ideal Outcome, is when you reroll, you can reroll a third time. We break all the rules now. Are you like, I don't like the second reroll, I'm rerolling again, which is pretty gnarly when we look at it. But I think that sort of brings us up to all of the enhanced classes. Any final thoughts from people on these enhanced classes before we maybe do a quick little run through of some of the other class options that are in the book?
I'm good.
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 Sweet. Okay. Other class options. Okay, basically every other class gets stuff in this book, and these classes too. So these enhanced classes, the typical enhanced spread takes up 2 pages, but then the class also gets stuff. So you're gonna get, or actually 4 pages of extra content. So for example, the enhanced envoy in this book gets a 2-page spread of just the enhanced options, and then a 4-page section for just new envoy abilities that you can have. And we go through this with every class, including all of our new classes like the evolutionist, the nanosite, the precog. They all get 4 pages of content. We cannot possibly, with the time we have remaining to us, go through all of them, but there are some pretty neat things. I know the evolutionist gets the divine niche, which is like just a neat new niche for you to explore. We haven't had an opportunity to really introduce a lot of those. A variety of different classes. I want to kind of maybe pass it on to some of my panelists if there was anything in the class options sections that sort of jumped out at them as they were going through, whether it be just an ability or a new class path, anything like that.
I love the operative has a series of feats that begin, or exploits that begins with the exploit mysterious benefactor. Someone you don't know who is leaving you little hints and clues to help you with some of your skill challenges. And if you wish to invest more operative exploits into this, you could begin to sort of unlock their identity until you could pick up the 14th level ability Puppet Master and become one of the operatives of that mysterious organization, and then help your allies in ways that they might not realize you're helping them out now, because they're now working on behalf of this mysterious organization, which there's so many fun ways you could talk to your GM about that ability and be like, do you think this is appropriate for the campaign? And they could just be like, maybe, take it and find out.
Yeah. Any
This
other
whole
ones popping up,
time,
people?
Hype Fox has been promoting all of Dustin's characters' activities. And now the dead is due.
I really love I
Mhm.
really love the mystic options that are in here. Mystics are my favorite class. So I appreciate there's multiple new mystic connections in here. But my favorite is Shifter, which is all about shape-shifting all or part of your body into other forms. So you get like an actual weapon that you can choose every time you use it. And when you can cast spells, you can gain like scales and things to gain better defenses and DR and energy resistance. You can polymorph into all kinds of shapes, of course. But at 19th level, you can shapeshift into a colossal terrestrial creature or a massive living starship, which is just all kinds of fun.
Oh, that's so rad. That's so rad.
So cool.
I remember developing that. I think that was one of the last things I worked on.
Turn into a starship and I walk out the door. John Compton.
We're just like, look, people wanted new Starship combat options. I am the Starship. And that way I can, play a mystic who doesn't care what the pilot says and just do my own damn thing.
Also, very, very true.
The biohacker has a new field of study called hypermycology, which is basically not just how can I understand fungi, but how can I push them beyond their limits. So your various inhibitors and boosters are things that will kind of augment and sprout and affect healing and possibly inhibit healing. But later on, you get a breakthrough, which is basically like causing sudden mycological growth in somebody to open up new little micro evolutions in them that hopefully will not have harmful side effects.
Yes, yes. I'll throw one in. So the precog, near and dear to my heart, because I did the initial pass on that class, gets a new anchor, the seer class, the seer anchor, which is pretty obvious because it's literally the anchor that is you're just like a fortune teller or an insightful diviner who just sees the future on behalf of yourself and others. You're like the sage offering advice. So rather than a lot of the kind of, oh, hey, you're tied to a dark future, or you've had like a temporal displacement. No, this is just like you are one of those kind of atypical characters of, yes, I know things and come into my fortune telling box that will disappear after you come in. They get some really really fun abilities. They can have paradoxes. Their focal paradoxes like perception and sense motive to recall knowledge, which is fun. But then like their greater anchor allows you to just cast divination, and when you do, you can like basically you can increase the chance of a correct divination based off of the number of your paradox, which is super fun. So there's some like really interesting and fun class options. Again, each of the classes gets it's like 4 pages, and then for the enhanced classes that'll be 6 pages. So there's just a ton of class content in here, which is great. I really think this is gonna up what people have access to. Now that's not to say we don't have a whole bunch of other stuff in here, because we certainly do. And as much as this panel is pulling back the curtain on things like 90 feats, there are certain things we aren't even going to have the time to touch on here that are in this book, like sections on designing spells and a whole bunch of new spells that are in this book. Although Dustin, I think you maybe
I
had
have a
a
new spell I need to spoil. Yeah, so I've been asking to spoil this because I want to use it on my mystic in the campaign, and I
you can
can't
read
wait
the
any
entire
longer.
thing verbatim, because at that point it's basically open content. So go ahead.
Yes, so fantastical transformations, a 5th level spell for all of our casters. In a dazzling display of light color, fantastical magical effects, and music, you adopt a flashy battle persona that transforms the appearance of your clothing, equipment, hair, and other features as you desire. For the duration of the spell, 1 round per level, you exude in majesty a 30-foot radius. Any creature that enters or begins their turn in the radius becomes dazzled, will save, while they're within there, and for 1 round after. What I love about this is it gives you, as a swift or move action, while the spell is active, special abilities, which I'm loving for casters because they always seem like the class that the most needs those extra options for swift and move actions. You could either bluff check somebody who's been dazzled by the spell to faint with a +2 bonus, intimidate with a +2 bonus someone who's been dazzled, dirty trick to blind somebody in there, somebody who's been dazzled by the spell, or up to once per round, fire a bolt of magical energy against EAC to do 4d6 fire and sonic damage. If they're dazzled, they take 4 additional damage. I love it. I love it so much. When I read it, when I was developing this, I went out and hired an artist to make a battle persona for my character that I want to show my GM when I first cast the spell. It's going to be super fun.
That is awesome. Also, yes, it is a spell that is a magical girl transformation spell. That is the type of high end content you will get in this book. We also, in addition to spells, have rituals. 2 pages of new rituals that are some pretty exciting ones, and creature companions. Oh my gosh, there's more creature companions in here. Jessica, did you have thoughts on creature companions for this book?
I sure do. I adore creature companions in any game we're playing. I'm always happy to see new ones. There are some that fill some missing niches in here. Like we've got bone familiars, which are tiny little undead, and liminals, which are fae. All kinds of cool ones. I want to shout out a couple though. I love the Vividile. He's like a little reptile, and he digests radiation, so he can lower radiation levels around him. And he also changes color. So he serves as a nice little warning beacon if you're in a place with some bad radiation, which is fun. The Scooter Root, which is like, imagine a sentient plant caterpillar with berry bushes growing on their back. And then you can harvest the little berries and eat them as part of like grooming your little caterpillar. They're adorable and I love them. and the Ebrelair, which is like an adorable tiny fox with big bat or rabbit-like ears, and they can just look adorable to compel people to take care of them and stuff like that. They're super fun. There's lots of cute ones in here.
Yes. Also, there's equipment. My gosh, is there equipment in this book too? Like we've packed so much into this book. I think we have a nice, cool art piece relating to equipment here. Tech had that real fast. They're just like you're running out of time, Hillman. You're running out of time. Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. But look, like this store is about the equivalent of what is in this book, just packed with a lot of different items. We have magic items, tech items, hybrid items. Grenades, a lot of grenades. There's like a full 2 pages of grenade tables. There's a lot of grenades. The serums, we got serums in this book. Personal items, so many items, so many items. We can't actually go into detail on the items. I apologize. But then we also have a couple other things in this book as we oh good lord, there's so much. One thing we've often heard is people have mixed feelings on some of the starship combat aspects of the game. Maybe they don't want the sort of high detailed tactical starship combat. They're looking for something a little more abstract, a little less map and grid style. So one thing that we have in here, I believe was written by our own Jason Keeley, was narrative starship combat that we have rules for. We also have a cool art piece for this too. Look at that.
So good.
Look at that. Just imagine doing that into the normal starship combat rules. You would be there for a couple of hours. That's why we have narrative rules, though. So you too can run a crazy multi-ship battle narratively in our game. These rules are, several pages of just giving you kind of simpler, more flavor driven and skill check driven ways of handling a starship combat. So very exciting there. Going back a bit to equipment, because I don't want to skip over this, it's also another fairly important part, and I think this was one of yours, John, was scaling equipment. This book also has a system on scaling up your equipment. Is that correct? You want to give us I'll give you 3 minutes for this. No, 3 minutes.
So one of the big concerns and its feedback when we started Starfinder was how basically you were constantly having to find or acquire new armor and weapons and whatnot to stay up to date. You couldn't necessarily upgrade your existing stuff. So it also made it hard to feel an attachment to any particular piece of gear. Scaling equipment covers both weapons and armor so that you can not only create custom items for weapons and armor at any given level, but also there are rules for how you can go about upgrading and putting credits of material into the particular gear to keep it constant with your own level. The basics of it is that each one of these things provides a basic starting point for the amount of damage, the range of it, some of the other properties, or the amount of EAC and KAC bonus or armor check penalty, speed modifier, things like that for the basic category of a thing. So if you want a sniper rifle, certain things will start to be true. If you want heavy armor, then you use X table instead of Y table. But then weapons and armor also slowly gain weapon and armor perks, which are basically little slots that you can use to buy up different special weapon properties or armor properties that you've seen in the course of our other publications, so that you can gradually customize your thing to be whatever it is you want it to be. And I think there might also still be some options for being able to pay a little bit extra beyond what the normal upgrade cost would be in order to exceed some of these limits just a little bit. There are also like little graphs that you can put onto your armor form to say, what is the overall concept of my armor? Is it like super bulky and like heavy duty? In which case, cool, maybe it gives a little bit more armor, but in fact it reduces your speed a little bit more. So that way there are little templates and graphed ways to steer whatever it is you want to design and keep it constant throughout the campaign. And as far as pricing goes, so many hours with Excel spreadsheets, but basically we're figuring out what is kind of a fair upgrade cost that will balance not only the flexibility that you have in designing your own stuff, but will not break the bank by any means and make you feel as though you're making a bad choice and not just picking up whatever it is that you find along the way rather than upgrading your dear beloved azimuth laser pistol.
Awesome. All right, we're kind of coming to the end of it real quick. We have one more little art piece that shows off some of our GM tools that are appearing in this book. We're going to give the sort of real quick summary. Look at those Manders. Look at that. Look at that art piece. This is so good. It never gets old. That's how I feel
Tag
as
yourself.
a GM all the time. Yeah, exactly. Oh, boy. The GM tools include such things as alternate skill DCs. We know higher level play especially has some trickiness with skill DC, so we wanted to make sure to give you the latest and greatest tech for that. Free archetype variant, so if you want to get those free archetypes in your game, hey, here's some rules for it. A little bit of discussion on milestone leveling, so for games that aren't necessarily using flat experience to level up, we want to provide some of that. And then finally, a section on resolve points. We're not going to deep dive this too much, but this is going to be 2 pages of just giving you a whole bunch of new uses for resolve points. I've spoiled some of these on previous things, but you get some abilities like, hey, increase the saving DC by spending on a spell by spending a resolve point. Spend a resolve point to hit with 2 crit effects instead of 1 if you have 2 crit effects. Some of the ones I haven't talked about before, though, might be useful for Mechageddon, is you can use a resolve point to grant the mech you're operating 2 additional move actions or standard actions instead of 1. You can give yourself an additional move action on your turn for a resolve point. All sorts of really fun and unique options for resolve points. And it's really exciting. And I think they're going to pull the cane on us very soon. So we're going to do our outros right now. I'll start in actual order to keep it easy with tech. And let's start with John.
I'm John Compton, senior developer. I'm hanging out in my AMA thread as well as on the Paizo events server. You can also find me on the Starfinder and Pathfinder fan discords and at Archeotog on Twitter. And otherwise, hey, also Pathfinder's thing too. Whee!
Yeah.
I'm Dustin Knight, developer, Starfinder. You could find me at Warlock Kitsune on Twitter. Please come to my AMA thread, tell me about your character, ask me questions, do whatever you want. It's going to be great. Have a great PaizoCon, everybody.
I'm Jessica Catalan, Starfinder Society developer. You can follow me on at D20 Diaries on Twitter, and you can also ask me questions on my Ask Me Anything thread on the Paizo Events Discord.
Hello, and I have been your host for this show, Thurston Hillman, managing creative director for Starfinder. You can find me on all the things at On Call GM. I also GM a show called Narrative Declaration, which I'm going to be running off to do tonight. But otherwise, I will be in my AMAs. You can find me there on the Paizo Discord events Discord server, and I'll answer more questions. And if you have some other questions about Enhanced or just Starfinder in general, I am there and excited to chat. Otherwise, thank you all for coming to this panel. We're going to hand it over to 3 minutes to spare for the next panelist. Easy peasy. We got this. Thank you all, and have a great night. Bye.